think do you mind if I chair it?
Yes.
You're welcome.
Good plan. You're sitting already, so.
And then
Can we just apologize for keeping everyone waiting? We're just waiting for our public participation consultant, but I mean, they can just catch us on. But then we can start. I think we'll just introduce how far we are with the plan and the purpose of today's session. Thank you very much.
Okay, and then again, you might want to just jump in when you need to. So, thanks for coming this evening. So, we have community members here. We have people from the project team. We have our client from the city. We have people from the community. We have people who own businesses and live here, as well as other community members. And Paul is also, again, a resident and
Serious troublemaker.
But tonight we want to put the spotlight on Adrian, who's from Gib, and he's going to take us to the promised land. So the way that it is going to work is that we're going to have it. We have got a sense of what we kind of would like, because we spoke about it yesterday. We can run through it, but also we would like to give you a few minutes to kind of give us an overview of what we are kind of doing, and what are the kind of things that we could also think about, and at the same time that's available to us. And obviously different modes of transport relate to different distances in which you travel, depending on what you're going for. And just to keep that in mind, that we can also obviously couple those things, or quadruple or triple those, and you could combine those. But these things are not in a vacuum, because it's the same reason why I live, for example, in 4th Street, and I could walk to UJ, but I won't, simply because of safety. Not because of the transport that I have access to, but for a very different reason, because of safety. And that's a different meeting, which is happening, I think, tomorrow. So I want to ask Yona just to quickly just point out to us what, just to go through some of the things and what you've put down for us.
Right. So item number 1 talks about traffic calming, and that was predominantly down the main road, and then also in 4th Avenue, and sections of the
7th.
Lothbury and 7th.
7th.
Yeah. Then number 2 was talking, these come directly from the community meetings. Number 2 was talking to road maintenance, general road.
So that's general?
Yeah. Potholes and fixing of roads and that kind of idea. And then pedestrian priority, number 3. There were discussions in the community meetings regarding some pedestrianization or some level of it, be it total or half in terms of vehicles and people, and it's mainly focused around this kind of core area intersection with 4th and 7th. Then upgrading sidewalks, that goes along with number 8 as well, like kind of people with disability and wheelchairs and prams and people walking around, the general pavement upgrade.
And sorry, can I jump in? And consistent widths of pavements that create and promote walking, and well-lit areas that combine landscaping, bins, etc.
allows for universal access.
Yes, universal access.
Universal access.
Yeah. And then also there was quite a strong discussions and the need for cycling and running, and for that, walking for that matter as well. Network that links through 4th and 7th towards the sport facility park on the eastern border, and then also into the Koppies as an asset, walking and running. And then off-street parking, there was discussions about new developments and refitments of buildings, all that, trying to accommodate for parking on site rather than on the street.
And including other facilities that can absorb them.
Yeah, so like the churches and the school grounds, maybe they can double up on different times of the week or in the evening for parking. And then also, there was a discussion around reducing the parking in terms of the system on 7th, where all the activities and trying to test a one-way network on 2nd and 3rd, I think, to try and alleviate some parking of this system. congestion, yeah, people driving through. Yeah, I think that, and then the special needs or universal access.
And although that's, we don't have to be, this is what we kind of see realistically, but we're not going to limit it. If you tell us that there was a conversation about first and fourth, but if you say that first and fourth works way better in one ways for some reason or other, then we could also test that on our testing day.
Yeah. One item that I didn't mention are these blue dots. There was just an early discussion about like a little tuck kind of network or some sort, like or potentially also having bicycle storage or kind of some other system. There's a bug shop over here as well. A little network of bicycle or tuck. Hey?
No, I just want to make notes.
You want a pen? I've got a pen. If you want to run with this.
Okay, it's fine.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, so I think, and anybody can jump in here, what we're trying to go for here is, it sounds like the pendulum swinging more towards promoting walking, but not completely excluding cars. Although there's one thing that we spoke about yesterday, that in 7th, we want to test what it would do if you close it off over the weekend, so you close up just the blocks, between the roads, and then also close it 24/7.
I spoke to a lady this morning and she said, not in front of my shop. I'm not going to close this one.
Who's going to get that resistance?
Okay, which lady is that?
Today you're saying in a different team.
What also came out yesterday evening, I recall, was
Sorry?
looking at this option, Denver, something like this.
Correct.
Almost like a Werner style.
Yeah, they did
That
that in
also came out-
New York. So they basically.
Correct.
So you're talking about road calming. So what you make it is a one-lane road.
Yeah. And
With
then you have
parking on
parking
alternative and very wide
trees.
paved pavement. So the pavements take over. Your cars here, your cars here.
Absolutely right. That
Yeah.
came out yesterday. Yeah.
And the question is, there's a sub version to 24. Okay, no, are you saying 24/7's out?
No, I'm not
It's
saying
an
that.
option, I guess.
No reaction.
No, there's a. She just wants parking in front of it to offload and load.
Okay.
You see, so that can be just where the parking is on
Okay,
that side.
but Alison mentioned something also, so there's a sub option which we also have to test, is whether you go one way down or keep it two ways, so your pavement gets wider, all of a sudden more wide, and you're still not excluding completely people. And then it's the 24/7 and weekend, so there's almost this matrix of options over time and space that we have to
You could
test.
even make it a return. You could even make it return. But if you're going through this sort of kind of, you can't belt down. So you have a two-way, but it goes right over here, and you have only room for one parking. But the pavement eats into the rest of the fourth lane, which would have been the other parking lane. So you still get your two-way traffic, but it's slowed by this.
Yes. By the
And you can trial this with just pot plants and furniture in the beginning to test the
In the
velocity
morning,
That was the idea.
before
in the
you
morning,
actually make it permanent.
they
Yeah,
go Fifth
exactly.
Avenue, they go 4th Avenue, they go. I think fewer cars are making use of 7th. But a lot of them travel on 5th Avenue
Yes.
and go down 4th Avenue.
I'm always worried about traffic calming because it just shifts like gated
Yeah,
communities.
that's
it
the
just
thing, and then
shifts
you end up
from-
with the whole suburb being.
So what you need to do is probably create an inconvenience in the road rather than a bump. I never find bumps very useful. I just love them. But you if you create an inconvenience,
Height you can get.
I'm like you need to design for me.
Even what works well, what was discussed last night, is this, especially at the gateways, is this pannekoeken. I call them pannekoeken, these circles in the road.
Yeah.
And I remember it was discussed last night to raise the square here, to
I'm
raise
not
it.
sure
Raised
about.
intersections.
I'm not sure about what.
But we have
That
drunken
was-
driving. I live
But I
here,
know
and
this
I
is
hear
where
all the hits
So yeah,
of the hits of those.
chance for doing the right
Yeah.
one.
So I heard
but we
this
do
traffic
actually
circle when
have,
they
some raised
have an
intersections
accident there
with
on.
access,
Yeah.
You at
That is
It's just
way.
how you do
That
it.
came out last night as well.
Just remember,
I am on raised.
But if you
talking about.
Just remember
When they designed this whole pattern of Pannekoek traffic circles, they used a flat map. And the relief of Melville is not flat, because some of them is at a very steep angle.
And not in the middle of the road.
And not in the middle of the road.
Yeah, I said that clearly last night.
In places where they're very wide, you can like see through and you don't feel like you're walking through.
But
You can
anyway,
see around you.
to traffic calming, traffic doesn't move very fast, except only from down
So
there.
I just want to centralize the conversation. I just want to centralize the conversation so we don't miss each other.
Yeah. So it's not very, they don't travel very fast.
Yeah, I think
on this
because
one.
there's lots of
They go
cars
fast, they
parking.
go fast down Fifth Avenue. And they go very fast down Main Road.
And also First Avenue.
And First Avenue, yeah, okay.
What is the objective of slowing Main?
It's,
It's
I think
people
safety.
crossing
There's a lot
roads.
of there's a lot of pedestrians crossing.
You say if you have
But the thing is, it's just going to shift that problem somewhere else. It's a major thoroughfare. I mean,
yeah, it's
those-
major, but if you
one
can
of
just
those
get them
roads
slower,
where
because the councillor said cameras.
but it's those
Whether that's going to work, I don't know.
What we proposed was
but the zebra crossing bumps, it's
Making
just
a
slightly
better
up,
crossing
slightly
and more
down.
obvious crossings.
I'm awful.
At the moment, it's not very clear.
Yeah,
The
but
problem also with
a raised pedestrian crossing will work. But the main, who are the culprits? They are the taxis.
and they don't care. They're
Okay,
going to
so-
hunt those and add
so on a typical intersection. What we discussed was yesterday was that raised
that would be good.
robot
Raised
thing
intersection.
and paved roads. Well, not this paved, but
Changing
definitely,
the texture,
definitely this.
Surface treatment
And
is
then
different as well.
this in the middle with landscaping, so that a pedestrian crossing the street can pause.
We just be careful
And then
with
carry on.
blocking the sight lines of the drive.
You're turning and all that, yeah.
Okay, so
With the trees and that. But
okay, so does trees?
so
play
yeah,
a
so
role?
say if you're waiting to turn here, for example, you might not be able to
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So then, do you go for low shrubbery or?
Yeah, if you're looking at something just to make it look nice.
Okay. Does that convince you why they wanted to do this?
The humps around the traffic lights, I'm fully in favour. But to do it at every intersection here, I think you're going to be asking for trouble.
Can I just ask, right now, are raised intersections the best way? Is there nothing else we can look at? Because I just don't want us to be having camps and raised intersections all over the city, because it seems like it's the easiest solution.
Roundabout is one as well, but I mean, it depends on the flows as well.
Not, it wouldn't work.
You have to have wide lanes because of trucks and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, already that intersection is a nightmare when the spa is offloading and people are coming and going. With that circle that goes down to the spa. It's,
Yeah, this one.
You know, it's,
Okay,
I
so
think at the moment it probably is, but then, like Dan was saying, you have to do stuff sort of on the approaches as well.
okay,
That's
so
but I think we spoke about surfaces, right?
yeah, changing,
Like
yeah.
big humps and that, so that there's a consciousness of
Yeah,
just what's happening.
It's sensitive.
It's more like a table than a hump.
okay, so are we saying that there's no hump, but it's a change in surface?
Can our traffic engineer can we not give him time to come up
The
with
other thing is, I think this road is at
various
a
options?
bit of a gradient as well,
Very
so you
steep,
might end up creating a bit of a ramp as well in one direction.
Might create accidents as well.
Okay.
But it's not an option, but it's just something we should look at. It's one of the better ones if it
You
can.
could perhaps consider it here where it's not so much of a gradient at the top
Yeah.
of the hill. But this one, I think that might be a big accident waiting to happen if you have a change.
Yeah, the thing is, it only takes one serious accident.
Yeah. So now that we're on this intersection, it is an important intersection to promote pedestrianism. Both this way and this way, that when you're crossing, that surface is continuous from paving over road onto paving again, and it's got those bubble things for blind people and disabled people as well. So we're looking at that kind of comprehensive system as well. I just want to come back to these systems. So I'm saying that we're gonna ask him to. Are you gonna model these things?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're gonna, in terms of modeling this as an option, so that's almost an A. Would you test this as B? So you make these one
Can
ways
do, yeah.
and
So
see.
are we saying for one block or
How deep in?
continuously? Just for one block? Because I was thinking about after our meeting yesterday as well, if you block off the whole road, people come down here and then there's no parking and they try and turn around. It's virtually impossible. That's why we're saying let the roads go through, but test the possibility of these two being in opposite directions.
As in a one-way all the way across.
Well, that's what I'm asking,
Yeah.
is whether it's just for these two blocks or whether it goes all the way through. And it might just be for those blocks that people can actually turn and come back.
Okay, will you
Yeah.
give us some feedback
Look
on
at
this
the-
way through on this avenues? So the reason we're testing this other option is just to also, if we need to eliminate it so that we can say we tested it.
The nice thing about doing first and fourth is you're putting parking along first that might not necessarily have been there already. And as you can see already, as soon as there's parking, the cars don't travel as fast and as freely. So you might sort of cut down on that thoroughfare that's currently happening here. The risk is obviously that they start using a different route.
Yeah.
But that is definitely one of the benefits of putting the parking in.
I think ultimately the two major routes that run from west to east or east to west across Melville are 4th Avenue and 1st Avenue.
Yeah.
2nd and 3rd are kind of secondary roads in real terms. And the other route, of course, is 1st Avenue down to 9th Street and then down towards Bamboo. Those are kind of major routes which don't seem to be marked on there.
And the reason these also work like that is because we say these have traffic lights, but also they have circles,
Yeah.
as opposed to these have stop streets, and that's why it's easy to flow through.
That came out last night as well, those traffic light thing, I remember, as part of the discussion.
Yeah.
Because they have traffic lights other than the other two roads. Yeah.
And they have that because of the volumes of traffic on those
You
roads.
actually pointed that out, I recall that, yeah, with the traffic lights.
Whereas crossing in the middle is quite difficult, as you said.
Yes.
Then there was a discussion about whether to put an island through there, but it's just going to make it much more difficult.
Another thing that I want to then bring up is this road. This area over here gets really wide,
Yeah,
and I want
it's
to know.
almost like-
And I want to know if it's because the code changes or something, it becomes a bigger road or a more
No,
important
it's the
road.
same.
Because it's an opportunity to, when you're traveling and roads get wider, you
Yeah.
can keep the road the same width for up and down, but it means it's an opportunity to make pavements wider for collecting more people and promoting.
I think it might have just been that way because they were concerned about vehicles exiting, so they've sort of provided two lanes.
Correct. Definitely in that block, there's a congestion issue and people getting in. But for the whole
Yeah.
entire street, all the way up to here, when you stand from, Escobar, and you look down, it's really wide. But also, there's an opportunity for that first block to start getting, if we can, and if it allows us to start getting herringbone parking in there, or parallel parking, so that it can start to, this area can start to absorb parking for this upper half of the street, which doesn't actually happen at the moment. No one parks up there. And they end up parking down first, which is congestion. So when you come home in the evening, you have to, on a Friday, you have to like try to circle to get through here, because they're parking on both sides.
Yeah, this is currently a very tricky intersection on First because they park right up until the corners and you can't actually.
And we need a
Very
solution.
dangerous there.
And we need a solution for that.
I mean, if one turned that into a one-way from where 3rd Street is down to 8th Street or something like that, you could then put herringbone parking on there because traffic's only going to be going in one direction. You're going to increase the amount of traffic space, and you're also going to alleviate the scenario where in 1st Avenue, trying to get out of there in the morning and trying to get out of there in the evening is nigh on impossible. If it becomes a one-way, then you're only going to have that problem once a day as opposed to twice a day.
And I guess what we're trying to say is that parking, driving, and juggling in the street on Melville, almost all the streets, doesn't work because it's not clear. You have a road width that is not demarcated, And if you had a system that allowed you to something like that, where you had clear demarcations of driving up and down, and then when pavements went in, and it's either for loading or for parking, then it's very clear that you're never ever going to park in that zone.
What's enforcement like?
Bad. It was really good when just before they resurfaced the road and they put yellow lines on the street, and then every Sunday they'd come and fine everybody. It was fantastic.
When was
No,
that?
the thing is, it actually
Before they
needs to happen every
resurfaced it.
day.
And then they resurfaced it and covered the yellow line.
I think the big problem actually ultimately when you're looking at that, the problem is lack of respect for traffic regulations. People don't give a shit. They'll stick their car wherever they want. And when I challenge them with the camera, they usually give me the finger, which I fortunately have because I've got arthritis in my arm. You know, but I mean, technically they don't actually care. You know, oh, fuck you, I'm going to park here anyway. Who are you to tell me what to do? So actually what we need is we need to have a scenario. But if you try and park on a single yellow line or a double yellow line in London, you are going to be in the shit in about 2 minutes.
My
Okay,
question-
because they don't give you a fine. They come along and they slap a bloody wheel clamp on your car, and then someone comes and tows it away. Now, if that's going to start happening, suddenly people are going to start saying, wow, these people are serious, I better think about what I'm
My
doing.
question is, if it's not clear, because there's two systems. There's this, which this should be our passive system. It guides you where to park, where to drive. At the moment, it's not clear. It's
Can't
just
clamp them
talk.
very clear.
What you need to do is,
And it's
we just need
half-baked.
to introduce the system. How people use it, we can't control.
So are you saying there's no signage? There's no
There's
proper
no
signage?
signage. The widths, the markings, the way the road is 1.5 lanes. And you're either going to park on the one and you're going to drive on the other, or you're going to drive on the four. It's just, it's not clear.
The councillor, they're going to start with the road markings very soon. I don't know how you spell soon.
The thing, we spoke about the corners, because the corners are in a way the most problematic, the way that people park on corners. Then you can't get out of this road and across to the other one because somebody's trying to do the same on the other side. And that's where we talked about bulging.
That's
on the
that,
corners.
you specifically pointed it out here.
But also on
yeah.
up to 7.
Yeah.
The problem is that you do that with the paving, all the 4x4s are just going to climb up, and I think it's a very lack of parking.
One of the problems with parking on the corners, I think, is that they're fairly well lit, and people want to park their cars where it's well, obviously as close to where they're going as possible, but also well lit thing. So, especially on First, I notice, just like more or less where the police station is, the lighting is not so great. People don't like to park down there, and there's a whole lot of dodgy people there, and you don't want to walk past them. And so it's a security issue in part, but it's also a laziness issue in part.
Also, people want to park as close as possible.
Yes, laziness.
Yeah. And
The thing is with the
it's safety and
Laziness.
also
But
like to
I
stop
would say
as
that
close as
laziness
possible.
trumps safety, but
The reason,
yeah.
myself, I specifically like to park where I can see my vehicle. So, you know, in a lot of cases, I would like to where I sit in a restaurant. Now, that's how unsafe I feel these days. Is I actually want to see my vehicle. So maybe that's one of the reasons. I'm one of those. You know, depending on where you park. If you
And
park,
you got a 4x4 as well, eh?
and I've got a 4x4, so I have to protect it. Other thing that we have to bear in mind that came out, and I know I always put it, remember the cyclists. Also, as part of your paving, as part of that, just remember that. I know that came out often in the workshop from the cyclists. Just bear that in mind.
So, are we in agreement that there's no space for dedicated lanes, but we can allow for road markings like a band of green or band of whatever the color is?
Can I suggest that in Australia they have 1.5 metre pavements and they're unimpeded, they don't have dustbins in them, they don't have the freaking lamps in them, so they are completely dedicated to human movement as opposed to anything else. If you have a pavement like that, which is ramped and so on, it can serve as a cycling lane as well.
So whatever the
It's
human
dual
movement
use.
is, pram,
Yes.
cycle, walk.
Sometimes concerned because of the difference in speed between the bicycles and
But-
pedestrians.
You know, you can do that with signage because if a cyclist is a very confident cyclist, they'll get on the road and go. If you're a little kid, you're not going that fast and you're going to be on the pavement. So you can have shared space. And I think that's very much more of a sentiment, is that this is a shared community, a shared space, a shared pedestrianisation. Cars are guests in our community, not game. And that's really where the sentiment should go.
Upgrading the sidewalks in
That's
Melbourne
what it's
will take
about.
a
Yeah.
long time.
One of the big issues I also notice is that people prefer to walk on the road than on
Yeah.
the pavement.
Yes.
Especially at night.
But that is because pavements have been colonized, if you will, by well-meaning residents who want to beautify their place, and they've put plants in the thing. So you,
No, it's
so
not
you,
only that. It's
in
the
part.
unevenness
Yes.
of the sidewalk itself.
So if you're picking a
tree
line-
roots and stuff lifting up.
I always say that
I walk my dogs.
yeah, you have to go off. There's no ways you can take a continuous line. So if you are a pedestrian, laziness is your name, because really that's what it is. You want to pick a line and stick to it. You don't have to. You don't want to. Oh, now the pavement ends. I've got to cross over to the other side and continue with the 5 meters of pavement there before crossing back to resume. It's not going to happen. So it's got to be continuous, even
Sometimes
surface
water
and
meters in a
sufficiently
smack
wide.
back
You want to
in the
walk with your
walking
friend in your hand in hand. You want to have the 3 kids standing
Especially
side by
the-
side.
My experience also, what I saw a lot here is prams, really. Like even on a Saturday morning, 7 o'clock, when I was here with one of the meetings, a lady with her friend and prams. They were off in the road here in 7th Street with their prams in the road. Because the pavement doesn't allow for
Some
that.
of that is the roots of
Well,
trees.
that's also, yeah.
That too.
Is the
But
root of-
I also
Roots of
was
the
forced
trees.
into the
You know,
road
I mean, I
around.
saw a lot of those all
No,
come
true,
down on
true,
my
sure.
street.
There is
Yeah.
reasons for that.
So,
And
That I
water
want them to
meters. I
remove the
mean,
But the thing
really.
is, you need that for,
okay, so what are we saying? We're saying that if one of the plans that come out of this is a pedestrianisation pavement cleanup, it means that they must try to make it minimum 1.5
Yeah, but that is by law.
by law,
1.5.
cleaned up,
That's
evened out,
No
well
poles,
lit,
no water meters.
uninterrupted,
No water meters.
no water
The
meters.
problem with water meters is that they're going to
Is that
move
now?
them because they were all submerged.
With the raised one, I don't think it's
Wherever they're plastic and they don't get stolen. It's all the ones that get
But they're
stolen
rare.
are
No,
underground.
excuse
I
me,
know.
it all depends on which, what do you call them, group of people fitting those meters. Some of them put them nicely against the wall. Others smack back in the middle. Some of them are leaning this way. And
But what I'm saying is the old ones were in the
Yeah,
pavement
they were.
submerged. Again, as
Which-
the lids got stolen and now the meter
Which
gets
roads are we
stolen,
referring
you then have to move them back and put the meter.
it is on Fifth Avenue.
pavements for which roads are we referring to? now?
all.
We're talking about a consistent.
Okay,
principle.
will that work in 7th
Yes.
and in 4th as well? I'm
Yeah.
just thinking about this whole, you must have, if an old person is walking, maybe after 100 meters, that person just want to sit down for a while. We talked about last night, we talked about putting chairs out for coffee shops. That all came out last night, so we must be, I hear what you say. In this case, the whole thing is to accommodate the restaurants as well, putting out chairs, and that's why this idea actually came out as part of. That's what I'm saying. That's why I say
Others on other
we
roads.
shouldn't. Okay, so we must be specific then, yeah. That won't happen in 7th now. Okay.
Just a point of interest, one of the biggest problems I think we have with pavements at the moment is the fact that the restaurants regard pavements as their personal property.
Yeah,
So
but
what happens
we
is you
need to
get,
accommodate that. Yeah.
no, you get Pablo Exgo Bar who put up a barrier where you should be able to walk straight into the street. They then put chairs out.
Down here too.
I was actually with a person who was on crutches and we had to go into the street to get past
Yeah, it's not
because the place was
But-
full. And poppies have filled up the
And
pavement
what's this place
entirely.
down here? Down here as well.
Down
Down
here,
here
there's what
it's
is
terrible.
Baalbek or something.
I don't know what it's called.
Second-hand shops as well.
That's true. But the way we need to manage that now. So
Yeah, no, but what is
and
the
how to
legality
accommodate
of
that.
somebody just putting up a barrier and saying, well, this is space I'm going to use?
It's illegal.
Yeah, so I mean, I can think of at least 8 places that are illegal.
I think a couple of
So
months
do
ago
we
they
want to
cleaned
go
up
back
7th
to
Street. But
chairs having to be inside?
everything
No,
is
we're just saying that.
But we want them to be tucked against their
Yeah.
That's it.
But that's the thing,
They
is
came
where
afterwards.
if things get widened out,
No,
or
no,
like
no.
That's
parking,
what I'm getting to. We
things
need to
in
be specific
between,
on that.
then there's more space.
And
to
hobbies have been there for a long
But
time.
like even down
Hobbies
here,
take
if they
up
just
so
tuck
much
it against
space.
their shoppers, there's plenty of space to
my
move,
date is
provided
out. I
that
think
barrier.
Okay, so it sounds like there's two things we're saying. There's a design issue, and there's a management. And the management issue is about the ward councillor or whoever's the police, the bylaw police, going and approaching those restaurants gently and saying, listen, this is a problem, and do you mind if you have an alternative, whatever. It's interesting for me how traders by the city, they have painted lines that say, this is your boundary, don't go over it.
Talking about
And I
traders,
wonder, not necessarily painted lines, but if there's some sort of,
Like a meterage, like you're
Some-
allowed to be one or so.
yeah, something
Yes,
like that.
talking about traders, we also need to bear in mind our informal traders with their little table keys.
Okay.
We need
So-
to accommodate that as well.
Now, I've
Manage
had,
that as
okay, so I've had a discussion with them and I've asked them, if you could have anything for your stuff, like the metal guys that's selling those paintings and
Yes.
whatever, it's interesting because some of them don't actually want anything. But for example, the leather bag guy close to Shasha, he has now got a frame structure. So some people want it and some people don't. But it's also an opportunity that if you have wider pavement, you could have beautiful structures
That's what I said. We
that
need
could
to
be
accommodate
iconic
that.
for what you were also saying it could be maybe iconic to Melville only. And
That's why I say we also need to accommodate that within the pavement area. Yes.
I think that we can also think of creating a market area for them
Which
where they can put out their goods.
look, it depends
or
on who
maybe
it is. The leather
maybe not a
guy, for
market
example,
area, maybe a
stays-
specific spot. Maybe we shouldn't call it a market area.
Look, you can't, look, urban design 101, and we've learned this over the past two decades, is that you can't demarcate people where they not, for example. So if some guy's on this corner, you can't say, okay, let's pull them all over here. You actually gotta,
What I'm saying is, yeah, that's true. But
Okay.
by doing this, for instance, surely they will only be able to do it here, and there. So it's actually about managing the system.
I think that will happen
organic.
automatically.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. And that's why I say getting to managing that. So by laying out the street, you're actually managing that. you
look,
know?
the leather bag guy will
But-
need something, but for example, the guy selling this,
because you won't be able
the
to
heads
put it
and
out
his
these little table
beadsworks, he doesn't
See,
put anything.
I'm also not convinced about permanent shelters because there's nothing sadder than a shelter that isn't being used.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and at night when
Rather
your
devise
wakes up
him
and
something
goes
that he
home.
can
But
hold
you know,
up.
there's ways in which you can design a shelter that goes into holes in the
Correct,
the
yeah.
pavement during the day,
Exactly,
and that
I'm
gets
with you on
folded
that
up and packed away, taken away in the evening. Cape Town has quite a
Then you have dedicated spots,
system.
which is managed.
Yeah.
But you have to share that with them as well. Where would they feel comfortable? Where would they like it? You know, and that's part of the thing. Engagement. True. Manage again. Who's going to manage that?
That's the condition in which you get to kind of
True.
I think I just want to reiterate the point of this exercise is to also give ownership to people in the area. And that we don't want to just come and be the ones who are solely responsible for bylaw enforcement or management. You guys are the eyes and ears in the area. You are here more than we are. And we accept that as the city, we cannot get to every space or every area and enforce bylaws as we should. And that's why we are bringing this to you and we're saying, help us. Let us help us to help you as well. So yeah. So that's the point. That's the most important thing that I think we should bear in mind, that we will avail ourselves as a city and try and sort out whatever we can sort out. But we would like to have a partnership with you in addressing all these issues, whether you can walk on pavements freely, and the partnership that you can also have as residents with the businesses in terms of how pavements are used for the benefit of everyone in the area.
It's very important because I think also, there's a relationship between the business and the informal trader, and
Yeah.
each group needs to take responsibility for the pavement outside of their space. You know?
So I
How
mean,
many informal traders are there in 7th Street?
Not a lot.
I know about
Not a lot.
Leather guy, weave lady.
Joseph,
one over here,
Peter,
and there's one somewhere around here, and I don't know where the leather guy
There's
is.
a whole
the
lot
bead
of them.
wire
got the
guy.
try-
The guys by
He's in
Jai
two
Jai,
places.
Shepherd and the guys who do the bead worker at the next one on the corner opposite Glory.
And then there's the lady with the basket and stuff in First
Yes,
Avenue.
she's
Yeah.
there.
It's about 4 or 5 of them.
It's not a huge amount.
But those guys have been here for 30 years. It's amazing. They've seen more than most of us. I think.
But your point about it being a collaborative exercise, you know, it isn't just. I mean, as residents, we've had huge problems with businesses in the area where they just say it's not our responsibility. You know, where people leave a bar and then hang out in the street and leave all their bottles behind halfway down the next street. You know, so that, and obviously it's difficult to monitor that stuff. But at least outside of your space, and I think if the surface and the pavements and everything is designed better, it's going to make it much easier to do
Immediate
that.
space, yeah. You can
Exactly.
control
You
that.
know, yeah.
and it's also just forging that relationship between all stakeholders in the area, you know, and because I mean, if you're going to constantly be coming in between,
Which is why the
it's
24
not going to
hours
work. Exactly. It's not
story
gonna
won't
work.
work.
conflictual.
Yeah, then it's
Closing it
like
24/7.
residents
We
against
need to know
businesses. No,
what
we'll put
the
our
times
chairs
are on
there.
the weekend.
You know.
Yes.
So yeah.
That's the solution. The other thing with this this one, for calming, there's, I've seen in the UK where you have a bollard sticking, well, an island sticking into the road where it becomes like a narrow bridge.
That's-
Only one car can go, and on the one side it's like an island on the one side and a waiting area by the other. So there's car priority. So if you're coming in one direction, you have priority, but if you're coming in the other direction, you have to pull to the side. So there's a little arrow as opposed to a big arrow. So that might work better than bumps, and it also might create spacing for parking, but it's also a very visual. I think it's more psychologically hindering than a bump, in my opinion.
And because you could do it in a specific direction and allow, say, if your problem direction is that way, then you can make your free flow traffic this way. So and then everyone coming from the other direction.
So it's still thoroughfare both ways, but it's just slowed in one direction.
Okay. Do we have anything to say about this area where the park is in terms of
That was a big thing last night for public space, but not much for
not for
traffic.
movement? There's nothing on
The
traffic.
one thing I want to bring up is the tuk-tuks and their spaces and allowing space for them, because they already have got places. They're opposite here,
Yeah, spaces
Opposite
and
us.
parking space.
and they're also up on First. On First,
Where
is it
did I
First?
see this morning?
Yeah, and then they're also
3rd
here.
Avenue and 7th Street.
And they're also down at the spa.
3rd Avenue, 7th Street, somewhere, where? Over there, they were over here.
Third.
Just off, I think it's the IT corner. Just
Don't
past,
Do they park there?
there were
Don't
3
they
or 4
park
this
here
morning.
as well,
Yeah.
outside Piccola?
Picabella.
Picabella. But I mean, the guy from Picabella started it, if
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Yeah.
But it was here. There were 3 or 4 standing over here when I walked past that area. And where they are, they're permanent, I don't know. I will only be able to tell you next
I
week.
mean, they used to be there by the woolies under
Yeah.
those trees there because they can't do that anymore
Yeah.
because they've now.
I've seen them stand here now.
Ramped down.
All that I know about
So
them is they
what is
don't
a
like stopping at
what is
stop
a
streets.
good solution to kind of have them? Do they need to be raised? Do they need to have a bay? Do they park? Do they? And there's also motorbikes as well. So I guess if you have a series of parking bays, so that you take a tuk-tuk, a bike, a motorbike, a few motorbikes, and we also need like a seat for them. And my question is, I think there should be some sort of shelter for them, because when it rains and they're trying to get people's food to them, it's they need to make money.
We were talking about First Avenue being wired at first, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that might be a good spot because it's close to
But
where
the-
the restaurants and
Yeah, but
the
doesn't-
activity of the street and stuff. They also like to hang out together.
But
You know, when
doesn't
you're between trips, you know, you want to chat to your
Yeah.
buddy and
But doesn't that go against your theory about you can't move where they are not? So wherever they gravitate is where they want to be.
Yeah, but
So
they-
we all need to have a conversation with
with
them
them,
that
yeah.
Anili and the guys would have to set up with the tuk-tuk drivers only specifically and tell us, because I know there's two types of them, and it's a particular system that they use.
There's also all the Uber drivers,
Yes.
Uber delivery, Uber Eats
Yeah.
specifically, and there are also other delivery services that also congregate. For example, right over here in
Correct.
4th Avenue, they used to stand in the road, and one of them got ridden over. So I said to them, I suggest they just move off the road because it's very dangerous being in the road. And they don't have side reflectors on their motorcycles or anything like that, so it's difficult to see them as well. And these street lamps are always out, so it becomes very difficult. And then they made their home here on the front promenade, which is also not great. And then they moved across the opposite side of the road, and sometimes it's as many as 10 of them together. That's a large group of people, you know, and there's a lot of issues surrounding a large group of people together. You know, they loiter, they sit around, they don't have any form of shelter when it rains, etc., etc. So I do think that it needs to be considered.
Yeah.
And these people, so I had a chat to them as well. They congregate where they think the most business is for them. So it's quick, it's easy, they get the app because the Uber apps targets the Uber Eats driver that is closest to the establishment. Yes, so it's all electronically controlled. So you will never get an Uber Eats group, for example, to go there or to go there because that's not where the business is, sadly. So that's an element that we have to consider.
It's also different times of day.
Yes,
There's quiet periods and there's busy periods.
absolutely. You'll never see them around early morning
And at
till
night
about
it's totally
10 o'clock.
different as well.
Yeah.
Tea time.
Is there any reason why they're at the bottom and not at the top? I mean, is there no way that if there was these tuk-tuk drivers, so is there no way that they could maybe even have a space on the tenant parking? I mean, I'm just trying to understand what the reluctancy is to not move anywhere else but that, because if you're in any way,
If you're up there, nobody sees you.
no, but the Uber Eats app works with
the Uber
it gets you, and then you must come and get them food from counters, and then you
So
on
these
your
are
way.
two separate groups. They are the delivery people and they are the tuk-tuk people, not the same group of individuals. I think some of the tuk-tuk people also sometimes deliver things, am I right? Do any of you
Yeah.
know?
I haven't seen that.
I
So
know.
tuk-tuk is only transport, right?
No, it's
Yeah,
transport.
It's only transport for people. So these are two different groups of people with different
Delivery
habits.
guys
There are a
delivering
few
food and stuff.
tuk-tuks that are like delivery vehicles now, but they're not tuk-tuks, as in
Yes, and
public
they're not
transport.
stationary
Yeah.
either. They get called out, right?
Yeah.
So Mr. D, for example, uses tuk-tuks, yeah.
Okay, so I think there's two things. It's either they get stationed and they have a place where there's a bin, some seats, some shelter, and some parking that they don't get run over, but they're also not in the way of people walking past. At the same time, we need to ask them what is the options they have to consider, not having to be here. Would they consider being at the back? Could make a space for them? Would they be in here? What would it take for them? Would they need to get free access? We just need to know what those options are. And I guess the same goes for them parking here and parking over there also.
What about bus stops, taxi stops?
So the taxis always stop over here. And we need to find, there is enough space to actually have an embayment.
They will ignore it because they stop
We
wherever
understand.
they want.
Look, we will do our job, but we can do
Like
the bylaws.
Like I say,
JNPD will sort that out.
we put the plan on the table. How people use it, we
Yeah,
can't.
yeah.
But we just need to.
But
do
if you don't
the
have
best
it,
we
you
can.
can't use
Yeah.
Provide the options, opportunities for people to.
So that's that, but does the bus stop anywhere along here?
Yes.
There used to be
There it stops.
like 6.
There and there. I think there's a stop Just before the
Yeah, there was one.
It was opposite
De La
De La
Creme,
Creme, yeah.
De La
and
Creme,
there's
and one up
here.
the road.
Somewhere there. I'm not quite sure where.
So it goes up
It's
first.
there, and there's something down here as well.
Okay, there was a bus.
No, it turns,
It used to be
turns-
opposite
it turns
the
17 to 40,
video.
yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
The video
first.
store is
One here in the
where.
Afrikaans church, I think there used to
It
be
actually
No, they don't
it comes
go
down
first.
here and then it turns into.
Yeah.
I saw that the other.
And it goes all the way
Metroman.
across that way to
Shed,
West.
Okay, so he can confirm that he's got information on it as well.
What I've noticed about some buses, they stop wherever they want to stop along
Yeah,
for that.
they don't. That's true. Even I've recognized that with the Gautrain
Buses.
buses. They don't stop just at the buses anymore. They sometimes stop at the railroad, drop people off.
But now just
Yes, there's no more. There's no more.
okay.
Because they're
Formal
driven by
stops.
taxi drivers.
They do
if,
stop at the
but
formal.
but if we had, for
But
example,
again, we have to manage that.
but if there was a bus stop there and a bus stop there that was properly demarcated with a shelter, with you have signs, a nice seat, some lighting, that would make me want to easily want to take a bus to Cresta, for example, on a Saturday as opposed to taking my car.
Shelters
It's
would-
again starting to change the mindset.
Shelters would be possible here, but not there.
Not
because
there, yeah.
it's
This is under shelter
yeah, it's
already.
under, yeah.
It's under the
You absolutely
pedestrian.
Yeah.
The canopy.
The rules are there.
Of course,
There's
the
a
biggest
bench
problem
there
is
and
if you
there's
want
a
to- If you want to catch a bus in Melville,
that it
there's
never
a bus in
comes.
the morning and there's a
A
bus in the evening. There's absolutely nothing in the middle of the day. I mean, it's kind of pathetic. If you're not going to work, there is no bus transport from Melville to town.
Yeah.
And they usually all come at once. There's 3 in the morning
Yeah.
and they all come at once.
But it's also based on demand, so they would know that we're not
Also,
taking.
Yeah, they've done
Also,
they've
it's
done the
a chicken
analysis
and
on
egg
that.
thing.
And also with the BRT, I think they want to limit the amount of metro bus routes.
No, I don't think so. The BRT is not, it doesn't intersect, well, it touches on but isn't following metro bus
Is
routes.
it not on that side?
So it goes down Main, but it goes down Main. So that's stuff coming from Cresta all the way down Main, joining with Kingsway.
Yeah.
The main one, so that's a feeder route. That's a feeder route into that. Kingsway is the main one coming all the way from Soweto. So it joins. The metro buses are supposed to supplement the public transport. They are not in competition. But the thing is, if you, it goes along the premise that, oh, there's no demand, so we cut the demand. And we don't use the bus because now they don't go when we want, so they cut demand and so on. It's a self-perpetuating.
What the council has told me is they're going to cut out duplication
Yes.
of bus routes.
Yes.
So that if there's a Patco bus, they're not going to put the other trucks.
So the BRT runs along here, but if you want to get right down to the route,
Yeah. This is a
UJ Fields
feeder.
and stuff.
Yeah, so that's a feed and
You
the
have to
truck
go,
runs.
that cuts across through Greenside. It used to go across to Greenside High School. as
Which
well.
one?
This going across.
No,
that
that's
road.
another one. That's
Yeah.
another bus that
they
goes
used-
round the side here. Goes to
There's
the
one
side.
that
Like it used
used
to catch it down.
that used to go
Goes, you collect it
Rustenburg
at
Road.
9th and
I know where that's still is.
Rustenburg. Oh,